3 minutes past 9 o'clock here at 101 Country WBDC. And for those of you now watching on 18 WJTS, it is the month of September. And with that, it is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. And I'm joined in the studio with Maddie and Krystal. They are from LifeSpring. Before we get to those, well, good morning, ladies. I'll go ahead and say that.
Good morning.
Before we get to you guys, let's share a little bit of information, an update on how prevalent suicide is here in the state of Indiana. Indiana has been above the national average for suicide deaths for more than 5 years. Since 2017, nearly 1,000 Hoosiers have died by suicide every year. In Indiana, males are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than females, and on average, about 42 children ages 10 to 17 in Indiana die by suicide each year. 135 people are exposed to each suicide death, and 6 people experience a major life disruption. You two can speak a lot more on the counseling side of things and the therapy side of things and how to get help and intervention. We'll talk about that a little bit this morning. First, let's talk to Krystal. Krystal, mobile crisis teams. What is a mobile crisis team?
So the mobile crisis team with LifeSpring is a department where we go out to help individuals that are in crisis. So we may go to your local library if someone is experiencing any suicidal ideations or say they're just having these intrusive thoughts. They keep thinking about all the bad things that has happened to them. So the mobile crisis team, we go out and we service them exactly where they are. Someone may call into our crisis call center and just want to talk to a therapist, and we'll talk to them on the phone, provide them with resources, and just assist them wherever they need the help. Mobile is exactly where it is. We go to the client that's in crisis.
When you mean in crisis, this is different than setting an appointment a month later. But some people don't have that kind of time if they're in crisis. They need help now. Mm-hmm. Who can use these services?
Anyone can use the services. They don't have to be a LifeSpring client. Anyone. We have even our local sheriff's department. They may call in and say, hey, this mom is suffering. She's experiencing a loss. She may have just had a child, and we will go out and we will service her. Anybody can call. We're available all the time for any and everyone. If the person doesn't want to give us their name and number when they call our line, they don't have to. We've gotten calls from law enforcement where they may have had a bad experience for the day, and they're just trying to speak to someone and kind of walk through and process through things, and so they can call our line. It may be that a pastor may call and say, hey, one of my service members, they've been experiencing some trauma, and we will reach out to that individual. A mom may call in regards to her child. The mom may need a counselor because she's like, my child just keeps going and going and I don't know what to do. So she may call. So any and everyone can call our line.
Is this a 24-hour service?
24 hours, 7 days a week. You will always get a crisis call responder if you call into the mobile crisis line. And if you need someone to come out to see you at your home or at the local Taco Bell down the street, we will come there 24 hours a day. It's always someone on call, even clinicians, even therapists.
So for LifeSpring, the mobile intervention, how wide is the area? Who are you servicing? Who is able to call the LifeSpring intervention team?
We cover 11 counties, and we cover counties in the Western and Eastern Division all throughout Southern Indiana. So Perry County, Dubois County, Spencer County, Clark, Floyd, we cover 11 different counties. However, sometimes we may get calls from individuals that's in Indianapolis or Louisville, and we don't turn them away. We go ahead and help them find the resources that they need, even if that means that we contact them or connect them to another mobile crisis team in the area. We don't turn anybody away.
So if the crisis team can't provide the service that this individual needs, they will link you up with those who can?
Yes, whether it be some individuals, they may need a therapist, and so we will try to talk them through, try to give them the tools that they need. However, If they need ongoing services, we will connect them to Open Access, which is another program that LifeSpring offers, where it's a walk-in therapeutic service. We will connect them to there. They may be experiencing homelessness and are unsheltered. We will connect them to either our CSU, which is our Crisis Stabilization Unit, or connect them to another program that may have availability, for them to sleep the night or the next week there. So with the mobile crisis, we don't just stop after we get the call and we just say, oh, well, we connected you on. No, we provide them with even follow-up services.
Making sure everybody's taken care of and nobody slips through the cracks. Krystal or Maddie can speak to this. When we talk about services, I think a lot of people out there don't realize the amount of services that are out there for you for these reasons, and not just through LifeSprings. There's services on the national level, the state level, and here on the local level. There is help out there for these individuals.
You want to answer? You can tell them a little bit about CC.
Yes, and that was my next question, because I see this acronym and I don't know what it means, so I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
CCBHC.
Yes, that stands for Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic. And basically, it's a model of care that provides a comprehensive range of mental health and addiction services. And we serve everyone, regardless of diagnosis, if they're uninsured or underinsured, where they live, or their age.
What services are available under that?
We have 9 required services. So crisis services, which is what Krystal was talking about, is a large part, a very important part of CCBHC funding, which makes these services free for everyone. So crisis services, treatment planning, screening, assessment, diagnosis, and risk management, outpatient mental health and substance use services, targeted case management, outpatient primary care, mental health care for veterans, peer and family support services, and psychiatric rehabilitation services.
Again, if you think of all the services we've already talked about here, and even specialized services, as you mentioned, for veterans who typically will encounter some problems that a normal civilian may not have experienced, and really need to be in touch with someone who understands what they've gone through, mothers, fathers, things of that nature. There are so many options out there for help, but the biggest thing is to ask for the help when you need it. And if you see somebody struggling, to get them that help. When we talk about suicide prevention, in your guys' opinion, maybe some of the warning signs to what to look for, because everybody has bad days. Everybody does. But there is a big difference between having a bad day and depression and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times that's one of the reasons they'll call into the crisis line, because that's a scary feeling for some people to have, is to have all these intrusive thoughts, and they're like, where do they come from? What do I do next? So when they call into the crisis line, they'll get the crisis call responder that'll help them kind of process through those thoughts. And they'll talk on the phone with them. However, sometimes people need a little bit more, and so they may need a clinician. And so our clinicians will get on the phone with them and kind of help them to process and, identify, okay, maybe it's time for you to go to the hospital. So one of the other things that Mobile Crisis does is it's prevention for those individuals that may have encounters with law enforcement, but law enforcement is like, I don't know what to do. And so Mobile Crisis, we go out and we assess that person and help that individual. But sometimes when we're assessing individuals, we see that, hey, they may need a higher level of care. And so we will go ahead and talk to the hospital and kind of communicate, okay, this is what this person is experiencing. We talk to the individual and tell them, this is why you need to go to the hospital. And we meet them there, or we take them to the hospital. We call the hospital and let them know what they're presenting, because sometimes it's really hard for somebody to be able to communicate, this is what's going on, this is how I'm feeling. And so we do that for them to kind of help that process, help them understand why they need to go to the hospital, and, to prevent them from engaging in any suicidal actions.
Maddie or Krystal, when obviously you mentioned that it's kind of sometimes hard to talk about. Some people don't normally express their feelings of what they're going through, and especially at that level can be a very scary and frightening thing to experience. This is something that really shows strength to reach out for help. if I am an individual and I know somebody, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a immediate family member, a coworker, whoever it may be, what are things that the average person could do if they see these things, if they're worried about someone? What kind of services, maybe even through LifeSprings, can we contact, or what's the first step, I guess I should ask, for either of them?
So in terms of needing services or seeing someone or knowing someone who probably needs services, CCBHC is all about increasing accessibility, making those services possible for anyone and when they need them. So again, a large part of that is mobile crisis. So say you're just worried about someone, then you can call the mobile crisis team anytime and say, hey, these are my concerns. This is why. This is who this person is. And we have people who can help them then and there.
How important is it to talk to a professional when these thoughts are in your head? How important it is to not just talk to a buddy, to talk to an actual professional?
Well, that is one of the benefits for the mobile crisis team, is because we have our mental health clinicians that have the experience to be able to talk someone through, but we also have peer support specialists, which are individuals that have lived experiences. So which means that they may have suffered from a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue. And so that the individual, when they call into the crisis line, they're able to talk to a clinician that has that knowledge and that awareness to be able to say, okay, this is what we need to do to get you through this, or this is where you may want to try this coping skill or try this technique to ground yourself. But then we also have individuals where they can say, hey, this is what I experienced, and this is when I knew that I needed to get more help. And so sometimes those individuals need to know that, hey, I'm not the only one that's feeling like this. I've had other people that say that they know, but this person actually knows because they've been there, done that. And so that helps that person to feel like this is okay. I can seek help because somebody else did it. So we catch them in both avenues. We catch them where we have our clinicians that help them process through that information, and then we have our peer support specialists that can actually kind of walk alongside them because they've also experienced it.
And you both have experienced it. We all know the taboo-ness of suicide, and hence the reason for this month in general. It is almost, I think, would be alarming to the average person of how often these things pop up, and maybe not going through with the actual act, but you are not alone. You are not alone at all, and obviously with what's been going on in the world and the pandemic and everything like that, have you guys seen an increase in the past couple of years of these services being used?
Yes. Even with the mobile crisis team, we can tell that around holidays, we know more people are suffering. With this being a program to help with prevention, we see the change. We see that once the services is out there, we know other individuals will be able to utilize it. Because normally when people are experiencing any type of suicidal thoughts, they want help, but they just don't know where to go. And so sometimes talking to a stranger can help them to feel like, okay, well, you know what, it's time for me to get a little bit of help. And so we're there. We see the increase. Even when me and Maddie first started to now, the calls come in more frequently than ever. The word has to get out there so that they know to get the help. But even law enforcement, they utilize us a lot more because they're like, okay, well, no, this person doesn't need to go to jail. But this mom, like I said, the mom may be struggling, or the dad may be struggling, or the sister down the street. And the law enforcement, they're constantly getting the calls for the individual. But it's a mental health need. That person needs someone to talk to, someone to guide them, someone to process through. And so we've seen the increase of people in need, and we've also seen the increase of people seeking out the help.
What is the number to call if you are someone we've talked about already or know somebody that may be struggling?
So we have 800-456-2117. As well as 812-206-9090.
206-9090 for the intervention team with LifeSprings, and of course, if you find yourself in that situation or know somebody that is, you said they were welcome to call the mobile team there, even for as a third party, as what you've seen. Maybe it's a close relative or someone like that you are worried about, because you'll make a big difference in someone. You make the ultimate difference in someone's life by getting them help, because as you've said, some people don't know where to go or don't want anyone to know. Both those things is a deadly combination. So if you need help, please get help. If it is an absolute crisis, there is a National Suicide Lifeline as well. You can text or call 988 anytime for the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline. But here locally, in that 11 county area, LifeSprings has the ability to help you, or as Krystal said, get you in touch with those who can. Thank you, ladies, so much for stopping by this morning. Is there anything else that you definitely wanted to mention? We covered a lot. We did cover a lot.
I think that's it.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for stopping by this morning. And, of course, a very important topic that we will continue here in the month of September. That is Krystal and Maddie from LifeSprings. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
That's what's going on in 101 Country. Back into the music we go. This is Darius Rucker and All Right.